Hello, welcome in. I believe we're live. Tell me if you can hear me. Not sure if everything is set up correctly, so I'll give y'all a minute. But yeah, thank y'all for listening in, whether you're on RoCoRadio.com, YouTube, Facebook, or Substack. Happy to have you along for this Rockingham County versus Crest High School preview show. Go ahead and drop it in those comments on Facebook or YouTube if you can hear me, and if we're rolling. Again, giving y'all a second to join in. Be talking about Rockingham County versus Crest. Rockingham County 2 seed, Crest the 5 seed. Cougars trying to advance to the final round and win their first state championship. So are all the other teams left in the bracket. There are 4 teams remaining in this tournament, and none of them have won a softball state title in their history. So all of these teams have that same desire to bring glory to their school for the first time. And we're going to preview how that's going to go down. Jonathan Hatley was supposed to join, but some technical difficulties have made that not possible. And I am trying to make sure that I am not muted or anything right now. So go ahead and let me know in those comments whether we are live and rolling. This will be a solo show today. Was supposed to have Hadley on, was trying to get somebody else on, but it just didn't work out, so we'll see how this thing goes. Again, thank you for joining me. If you're just joining in, Rockingham County versus Crest preview show coming up. It's a best of 3 series starting here in Wentworth tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Try to make it out to the field, and then it'll be continued on Thursday down in Cleveland County. Crest will take on Rockingham in game number 2. Looking forward to seeing how that goes down, hoping that the Cougars get the win over Crest. Thanks for joining me, whether you're on Substack, YouTube, Facebook, or RoCoRadio.com. That's also where we'll be broadcasting tomorrow. Joe Dexter and Jonathan Hatley will bring you the call on all of those platforms, I believe. Facebook, YouTube, Substack, RoCoRadio.com, whichever one's your favorite. Go ahead and listen in on that. That'll be starting at 6 p.m. tomorrow. 2 seed Rockingham County versus 5 seed Crest in game 1. So if you want to put anything in the comments, you can go ahead. We'll be doing some interaction. Don't have Jonathan Hatley to talk with, so got to have somebody. And yeah, I'm happy you're listening. So we'll start with how these teams got here. Rockingham County, we'll save the best for last. 5-seeded Crest, of course, they played 28-seed Forest View in the first round. That's the 28 seed, and they beat them 13 runs to 1. Crest went up 4-1 after 2 innings, and the third inning is when they just unleashed 9 runs scored, 5 players with multiple runs, 5 players with multiple runs batted in. Aiden Ledbetter, their pitcher, gave up 6 hits, struck out 4, ended up giving up 0 earned runs. Ledbetter also went 2 for 3 with 4 runs batted in when it comes to being in the batter's box. Sage McCurry went 2 for 2 with 2 runs batted in and a homer. Then the second round, they took on the 21-seeded Parkwood Wolfpack, who upset the 12 seed, and they took care of them, winning 11-0. They were up 6-0 after 5 innings. A lot of these 11-0 games, you just expect that the team mercy ruled them. But it took them a little longer, but they added 5 runs on in the 6th inning to complete the mercy rule. Aiden Ledbetter struck out 11, gave up 4 hits. Josie Downey goes 2 for 3 with 2 runs batted in and a homer. Madison Crocker went 2 of 3 with 4 runs batted in, 3 runs, and 2 homers. And then Madeline Bowen went 2 for 3 with 2 runs batted in. So Crest was kind of rolling those first 2 rounds, got to play a 28 seed, got to play a 21 seed, took care of those teams handily by a combined 23 runs, I believe. And then the third round is when things got difficult. Crest still won that one. It was against East Rowan, the Mustangs, the 4 seed. So, a little bit of an upset, 4 seed, 5 seed, not much difference. But down in Salisbury, Crest was the away team. Jumped on top early with 4 runs in the top of the first. East Rowan put up 2 in the bottom of the second, but they were never able to make the complete comeback. Ledbetter gave up just 5 hits, struck out 5, allowed 2 earned runs. Ella Shope goes 2 for 4. Sage McCurry once again getting 2 hits. 2 for 3 with a run batted in, and then Madeline Bowen hit a 3-run homer. That was really the difference in this big 6-3 victory. So that's how Crest advanced to the fourth round, where there were only 8 teams left. Quarterfinal round, 5-seeded Crest took down the Inca Sugar Jets, which we were very happy about because we wanted to stay here in Rockingham County as much as possible. So that's the reason Rockingham doesn't have to travel. We were kind of rooting for that back on Friday, I believe it was. So Crest took down Inca 3-1, very low scoring, no runs scored until the fourth. Inca added one in the bottom of the seventh, but ultimately failed. Ledbetter, she was the story. She gave up just 3 hits, struck out 8. Only earned run was a solo shot home run in the final inning. Took her 100 pitches and really just stayed in full command. So Crest wins that one 3-1. Madison Crocker 2 for 3 with a solo shot home run in the fourth. Allie Summer batting in, McCurry and Abigail Edwards in the fifth for that 3-1 victory. So that's how Crest got here. Crest, they had a long road, 5 seed, kind of the underdogs, not really expected to make it out of the top half of the west side of the bracket. Took me a minute. But they did so. So Crest, that's how they got here, the 5 seed, taking on the Cougars. Again, 13-1 victory over 28-seeded Forest View. Then they took down 21-seeded Parkwood 11-0. Took down East Rowan, the Mustangs, 6-3 in Salisbury. And then they beat 1-seeded Inca 3-1 in Buncombe County. So now looking at what the Cougars did to get here. Cougars took down Eastern Guilford, the 31 seed, in round 1. Not really a shocker there. They had outscored them by 27 runs in the first 2 games in the regular season. So they took them down 10-0 pretty handily, scored 2 runs in each of the 5 innings. Third time mercy ruling them. Avery Grace Pruitt put up a no-hitter, which, kind of standard at this point. 12 strikeouts. Pruitt went 3 for 3 with an RBI and a run. Kirby goes 2 of 2 with 4 runs, 2 runs batted in, hit by a pitch twice. Cameron Wynant, the freshman, goes 2 of 3 with a run scored and a run batted in. Macy Hardy with a double. Presley Roth tacks on a home run. So that's how the Cougars advanced to round 2. No surprise there. They were taking on 15-seeded Ledford. And Ledford, they took down Ledford 9-0, but in the bottom of the second was when things really unleashed. Lily Stripmatter hit a grand slam, no outs on the board, 3 runners on base, and Stripmatter took advantage with her first home run of the season to make it 4-0. And right after that, it was back up to the top of the order where Kennedy Kirby would send a home run over the wall to make it 5-0. 2 runs apiece scored in innings 3 and 4, one of which was a 2-run homer from Kirby, who had a big day there. Ava Grace Pruitt gives up 1 hit, strikes out 10, and this was the second year in a row that Rockingham eliminated Ledford. Kirby 3 of 4 with 2 runs, 3 runs batted in, 2 homers. Bailey Macy goes 2 of 2 with a run. Cameron Wynant 2 of 4 with a run and a double, and Macy Hardy goes 2 of 4 with a run and a double as well. Then you make it to the third round. That's Rockingham in the final 16. They took down Piedmont 11-1 in a mercy rule, scored in each inning except for the second. Macy Hardy hit a 2-run homer in the first to put them on top 3-0, I believe, and finished the game off with a 2 RBI single to complete the mercy rule. Cameron Wynant, the freshman, hits her first home run of her varsity career. Ava Grace Pruitt gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run, struck out 7. Zoe Sneed finally unleashed. She was 1 for 8 in the playoffs coming into this, but she went 4 for 4, scored 2 runs, really stepped up in a big way in the third round. Kennedy Kirby 2 of 4 with 3 runs. Hardy goes 2 of 4 with a run, scored 4 runs batted in, the 2-run homer and 2 RBIs, as I mentioned, and Stripmatter went 2 of 3 with a run and a double. Then you move to the fourth round. Things got a little bit more tricky. One of the stories all year long that had been brought up was that the Cougars hadn't really been battle tested. They were basically mercy ruling most of their opponents. I think their average run difference was by 10 runs, the Cougars winning it. And that's counting the McMichael game where Pruitt didn't pitch because of arm soreness, and they lost that one 15-4. So that kind of ruined the numbers there. But they were winning by an average of 10 runs, which is the equivalent of a mercy rule. And one of the things people were worried about is, these players aren't getting the extra innings experience. Playing Reagan was pretty much their only extra innings game, I think. They won that 5-4. But the other games, you're just mercy ruling them, getting out of there in 3, 4, 5 innings. And ultimately, some people thought that would lead to the Cougars' downfall. And if the Cougars hadn't really gotten on top in the first inning against Oak Grove, who they beat in the 2023 third round the last time they made it to the semifinals in 2023, they took down Oak Grove on the way. If they hadn't gotten on top early, they may have run into this problem, and it may have been one of those things that goes into the late innings. Pruitt finally got to show the importance of having good pitching. She gave up just 3 hits, 12 strikeouts on 126 pitches, which is the second most pitches she's thrown this season. A lot of endurance shown there. Only 3 Rockingham hits, though. Kennedy Kirby homered on the first pitch of Mary Peyton Hodge. She was an Arizona State commit, so Kirby getting on top early, just devouring the first pitch she saw for the home run. And then with 2 outs and an error, brought in Presley Roth and Zoe Sneed, and Bailey Macy's first hit in the playoffs was an RBI that knocked in AGP. So that they gave them the 4-0 victory over, or the 4-0 lead over Oak Grove. And then the rest of the game, it was basically a no-hitter because Mary Peyton Hodge, D1 commit Arizona State, was just putting them down time after time after time. And thankfully, the Cougars never had to deal with that same amount of had to deal with being up 2-3 runs or even being down 2 or 3 runs going into the final innings. But this is where the part of the season where you get a little bit worried about being battle tested, and hopefully it just continues like these playoffs where they win by 10 runs, they win by 9 runs, they win by 10 runs, they get on top by 4 runs in the first inning, and Pruitt holds on in the circle, and you don't have to deal with being battle tested. Because, why do you need to win by less runs, especially if you're never going to run into a situation where you would have to be like that? So, moving on, we were supposed to bring on Jonathan Hatley, but he had some technical difficulties. Weren't really sure what was going on there, but he's in the comments. Melita Hatley's in the comments as well, showing her support for the Cougars. Thank you guys for listening in. Thank you all for listening in, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, RoCoRadio.com, or Substack. Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments if you're on Facebook or YouTube. If you're on Substack or RoCoRadio.com, you can stay right there as well. And we're just previewing what we should see this week. Talked a little bit about how Crest got into the Final Four. Talked about how Rockingham made it to the state semifinals as well. Now we're going to talk about the importance of winning Game 1. Got some stats here. So dating back to 2022, Game 1 winners are 20-4 in the state semifinals, and they're 28-8 when you include the championship. So Game 1 win in the championship gets you 8-4, but 20-4 in Game 1 of the semifinals, and 23 of those times out of 28, the Game 1 winner also won Game 2. So you see a lot of sweeps in this scenario. 2 seeds specifically are 3-3 in the state semifinals. 5 seeds are 3-5, and the higher seed is 19-5 in the state semifinals. So all of these numbers kind of favoring the Cougars. And then here's the interesting thing. So if you lose Game 1 and you're the lower seed, so this is kind of Crest is. If they get their backs against the wall, it's going to be difficult because since 2022, and we're counting the 1A, the 2A, the 3A, the 4A softball classifications, 4-seeded Southwestern Randolph is the only lower seed to lose Game 1 and win Games 2 and 3. So if Crest gets down in the first game and then they come back and win it, they're one of 2 teams in these past 3-4 years that have actually been able to come back as a lower seed, down 1-0, and win the series. Home teams in the bracket. Some people say that home teams are not as being the home team in baseball isn't as important, but home teams are 48-12 in the 3A softball bracket for 80%. So that's just counting this year. Now, one thing there, it might not be about having home field. It might be about being the higher seed and playing a worse team. So like the 1 seed is probably going to beat the 32 seed, whether they're at the 1 seed's place or the 32 seed's place. And when you get to this level, 2 seed, 5 seed, there's not a huge difference between the two, especially with how odd the NCHSA ranking system can be. And, you might get placed in a bad conference and be lower or something like that. A lot of variables go in. So 2 seed, 5 seed, I think a lot of people think of it on the terms of like an NCAA bracket where 2 seed, 5 seeds on a scale of 16. But on a scale of 32, the 5 seed's more of a 3 seed if you're looking at it NCAA style, and 2 seed's more of a 1 seed. So we're looking at more of a 1 versus 3. Also, the fact that these teams have won 4 elimination games to make it to this point. So, yeah, I think the fact that, I mean, seeding only really comes into play into 16 seed tournaments uh, may skew the view to where 2 seed, 5 seed feels like you've got a bigger advantage as the 2 than you really do. But all of that to say, home field advantage might not be the biggest gauge of whether you're going to win or not. In all 4 brackets, if you count all 4 of them, home teams are 182 and 57, so they've won 76% of their games. But again, we're counting round 1, round 2, where the 1 seed plays the 32, and the 2 plays the 31, and so on. And excluding rounds 1 and 2, that number drops drastically. So when there were 16 teams left or fewer, teams are just 28 and 19, winning 59.5% of their games that are at home. And I mean, none of the teams are bad. Joe Dexter made this point last week. None of the teams are bad when you get to this level. And a good baseball softball team can pretty much go on the road or go at home and get the victory. So I was trying to figure out this home field thing, and I texted a few baseball players, keep them anonymous in case coach gets mad or something. But so I was talking to one of them. He said that home field advantage matters slightly, but not really to the extent that people think. It kind of deals with the fans. If your fans travel well, it doesn't really matter whether you're the away team or not. If the stadium's way far away, it's kind of a different story. But this one, he plays a couple of sports, and he said that baseball, it really matters the least. There's not a student section that's going to heckle the players. Baseball is kind of more laid back, and he doesn't think that it has a big effect on the outcome of the game at all. Now, I was talking to another one who said the exact opposite. He said that it plays a major role in the team's success. One reason he believes is an advantage is the familiarity of the field and how the ball can hop and move on different parts of the field. Another reason I believe it is an advantage is the home crowd, quoting him. Having your friends and family there can also help throughout the game. Last thing I'd like to add would be the travel stress. It can be hard to get off a bus and go straight into a game without as many repetitions and game prep, especially on longer trips. That's one of the things. Baseball players are more ritualistic, and maybe if you like a certain spot of the field where you do your warm-ups or something in a game, that can come into play. But overall, these players, they seem to have mixed opinions, but Joe Dexter and Jonathan Hatley said that it doesn't really matter. One thing another player said is, I don't think that it matters because at the end of the game, it doesn't matter what field I'm at, who has a so-called home field advantage, because you can beat anyone anywhere. If you and your other guys play good baseball, you will be up on the scoreboard at the end of the game. Another one's thoughts were that he said 100% being at home matters. From just the feeling of playing on the field you practice on every day, you know the layoff of the field and how it plays, and then just knowing you have the fans behind you in any situation is really just a calming sensation. There's nothing like getting a big win and hearing the crowd erupt in cheers. That's something you'll never forget as a player. Another one said, I think being at home is an advantage because you get the last chance to score in the late game when it comes down to the last out. I also like the familiarity with the playing surface, as knowing how bad the lips are on the infield when taking a ground ball, and also knowing how the mound feels when it comes to pitching. When I'm pitching at home, I have to get used to the mound, but when I am at home, I already have a great feel for the mound, and it makes me feel more comfortable when pitching. Hometown crowd provides motivation and confidence, and also gives us the drive to beat the opponent's team. And last one, I promise, guys. He said that unless it's like a rivalry game with a lot of fans, it doesn't really matter to him either. So really mixed reviews. I think it just depends on the player. It depends on maybe they have a certain ritual before the game. Also depends on fans, if that impacts you at all. One of these players I was talking to kind of feeds off of the away crowd and has less anxiety when he's playing in front of people he doesn't know. But then for another player, they can really feed off of those fans, and it just depends on who you ask whether home matters or not. But ultimately, if you're a Cougars fan, you're happy to be home because you're in Wentworth, not in Shelby. And also, home field matters because if it didn't 1 seed, 32 seed, it doesn't matter where you play. But if they decided to tell Inca that whoever the 32 seed was, I forgot, that they were actually playing it at their field, I would assume Inca would not be happy. So it really just depends on who you ask. But overall, got to be happy that games 1 and 3 are here in Wentworth. So game 1 will be here in Wentworth. Game 2 will be in Shelby, and a potential game 3 hasn't been scheduled yet, not to my knowledge, but it would be here in Wentworth. So you've got games 1 and 3 here. Championship series will be played at either Duke or UNCG. I'm not sure when they decide that. I assume it's just based on the distance of the teams to the field. And we've got some comments going on, so we'll get to those. If you have anything to say, go ahead and drop that in the comments. And I'm kind of lost. So Melita says, I think the higher seed should be home the whole series. Just my opinion. Bob Lamberth is in the comments talking a little bit about Crest. He says that home field does matter. Melita says that she'll be in Wentworth tomorrow night. Lady Cougars need to win in 2. Jonathan Hatley's in the comments as well. If you want to join that, go on over to Facebook or YouTube if you're on RoCoRadio.com or Substack, and you can see the conversation right there. Thanks so much for listening in, and we will get to some of the major players we're expecting to see in this Crest versus Rockingham series. One thing that I noticed, Hayden Lale, she was all-conference, all-state, all-district. She didn't play in the last Crest game in the 4th round, which was kind of confusing. Not sure whether it's an injury or something. Tried to reach out down there, and nobody knows that I know that can tell me why Hayden Lale did not play in the 4th round. But if she's injured, sick, whatever, hoping she feels better. So keep her in your prayers and hope she comes back on Tuesday. But otherwise than that, she's a Lenore Ryan commit, so that would be a drastic loss if you're a Crest Chargers fan or the team, not having her on the roster. Crest's best players, however, Allie Summer, she leads the team in hits with 41. She's got 35 runs, which also leads the team. 519 average, top of the team, and a 591 on base, which is the best on the team. She's got the 3rd best slugging with 684, 1275 OPS. Just incredible numbers in the postseason. She's been doing fantastic. 5 for 12. She's got a walk, a double, 5 runs, 2 runs batted in. One of 2 players to tally a hit in each of these postseason games for Crest. Then you've got Aiden Ledbetter. She's the pitcher. She's got 28 hits, which is second on the team. 10 doubles, leads the team. 24 runs batted in, and a 373 average, third on the team. 433 OBP, 547 slugging, and a 990 OPS. So Allie Summer, Madison Crocker, Josie Downey, she does well as well. Aiden Ledbetter, she's put up some good numbers. Madeline Bowen, she has had some incredible postseason numbers. She's 5 for 12 with a walk, 2 home runs, 2 runs scored, and 7 runs batted in. And coming into the postseason, she had just 1 home run on the season, in the regular season. But she's got 2 home runs so far in the postseason, bringing her numbers up to 3, which is 3rd on the team. And number 1 on the team in home runs, I believe, and in a couple of categories was Hayden Lale, who is out for an undisclosed reason, or at least she was in the 4th round. Again, unsure what will be happening in this best-of-3 series. So then let's look at some of these Cougars stats. Cameron Winant, she's the freshman. She hit her first home run of her high school career against Piedmont. 5 for 13, a double, a home run, 3 runs scored, 3 runs batted in the playoffs. Ava Grace Pruitt, 6 for 13 with 2 runs scored and 3 runs batted in. Went 3 of 3 against Eastern Guilford. Obviously, she's more known for her pitching prowess, but we'll get to pitching in a minute, just running down the numbers offensively for the Cougars right now. Maisie Hardy also expected to play. She's got 9 doubles, which leads the team. 6 home runs, second on the team. 31 runs batted in, which is second on the team. And a 770 slugging, which is third on the team. Kennedy Kirby leads them in basically everything. 42 hits, 7 triples, 8 home runs, 49 runs, 38 runs batted in, 575 average, 625 on base. 1.137 slugging and a 1.762 on base plus slugging. Uh, three doubles is basically the only thing she doesn't lead the team in, as well as the walks. She's third on the team in that with 8 of them. But Kennedy Kirby has been invaluable to this team, and she's 8 for 13 with 3 home runs, 10 runs scored, and 6 runs batted in the postseason. She's just been doing fantastic all season long, but all postseason as well. I was talking to her coach the other day. She was a transfer actually from, I think it was Northern Guilford, and came in her junior year, but she's still part of the family just like everyone else. Candace Lingle was telling me. Zoe Sneed, she went 4 for 4 against Piedmont, did very well there. Bailey Macy is second on the team in walks. First hit of the postseason was that RBI single against Oak Grove that punched in Ava Grace Pruitt. Maybe gave them some momentum to hold on to that win. Lily Stripmatter, of course, hit her first home run of the season, and it was a grand slam in the playoffs. Ella Brannick, she's tacked on 2 home runs, and she hasn't played as much as most of this team. She's a sophomore, kind of a newcomer here compared to the 6 seniors on the roster. We'll talk about team experience in a few minutes, but Ella Brannick tacked on 2 home runs. 2 of her 10 hits have been homers, and I think she's averaging a home run per every 15 at-bats, which, I mean, extremely small sample size, but it's still an impressive stat. And then you've got Presley Roth, who hit a home run against Eastern Guilford. 33 hits, is third on the team. 7 doubles, tied for second. 3 triples, a home run. 8 walks, which is tied for second on the team, I believe, or tied for third. 26 runs, 23 RBIs, 508 average, which is second on the team, and a 560 on base, 1.314 OPS. So those are some very, very big numbers on the Cougars side. But again, this is softball. It's a variable sport, and that's the good thing about it being a 3-game series as opposed to 1 game where anything can go wrong. It's 3 games where anything can go wrong. I don't know what's going on in the comments, but it seems kind of lively. Joe Dexter says he's looking forward to tomorrow. Jonathan Hatley Ledbetter is a good pitcher, and she's committed to a great JUCO level softball team. Joe Dexter bragging about getting to meet Melita, and yeah, I'm kind of losing it. I don't know what y'all are talking about, but y'all have fun. Just keep it going. Keep it going. Keep those comments lively. So I Hadley mentioned Ledbetter. Let's talk about pitchers in a minute, but first let's get to sort of the postseason experience. This is one of the things I thought about bringing up to Hatley, but since he's not here, I'll just go it solo, and you can drop any thoughts you have in the comments. So if you're looking at experience, you want to see a team that has much more experience in the playoffs in this big-time situation so that they don't get scared, or if they do get nervous, that it's kind of that nervous energy that makes you do better. So I took the 9 players that played in the 4th round for Crest when they played against Inca. This excludes Lael because she was not there in the 4th round. But so I looked at how much experience these players have in the postseason. Aiden Ledbetter, she's a senior. She's played 12 games. Ella Shope, she's a senior, 12 games. Abigail Edwards, she's a senior, and she played 12 games. Madison Crocker Jr., Madeline Bowen Jr., they both played 9 games. Sage McCurry with 7 games. Allie Summer, 4 games. Josie Downey, 4 games. Lily Pruitt, 4 games. Those all came this year because those 3 are freshmen. And far outweighing them on the Cougar side, you got those 6 seniors. Macy Hardy with 17 games. Zoe Sneed, 17 games. Bailey Macy, 17 games. Lily Stripmatter, 17 games. Presley Ross, 17 games. Kennedy Kirby, since she was at Northern Guilford, she only registered 11 games in the postseason. Ava Grace Pruitt leads her with 14 postseason games. Ella Brannick with 7 of them, and Cameron Winant with 4 of them. Now, I didn't go too deep into this. I didn't check if they were specifically on the lineup card for each game, but this just means that they were part of the roster and probably in the dugout for the game. So three freshmen, 3 juniors, and 3 seniors versus 1 freshman by the name of Cameron Winant, 1 sophomore by the name of Ella Brannick, 1 junior, Chapel Hill commit Ava Grace Pruitt, and 6 seniors. So you got 73 games of experience on the Crest side, which is usually impressive, but 120 games of experience on the Rockingham side, which really could play to the Cougars' favor if they can tap into that extra experience that they have. And, I mean, that might be the difference. You got this 3-game series, and it could all come down to who's been there more and who's hungrier for the title. And you might be more hungry for a title if you played more games without tasting one. So then let's look at some of the head-to-head stats of Rockingham and Crest, because I'm throwing out these numbers. You're probably not retaining all of them. If you are, it's kind of scary. But I throw out these numbers. They seem kind of meaningless unless you're putting them head-to-head against each other. So running down the list, Crest, and look, I'm not good at analogies, especially movie analogies, because I don't watch movies, much less I don't watch horror movies. But I want you to envision a scary horror character. Just do that exercise with me. It's not an actual exercise, so don't worry. Just think of a scary horror character. That's Crest. They 352 average, 455 on base, 532 slugging, OPS of 987, 237 hits, 44 doubles, 7 triples, 21 home runs, 110 walks, 253 runs, and 208 RBIs. Okay, now envision an even scarier horror movie, because I couldn't think of a reference because I don't watch movies or horror movies. That's Rockingham, who leads them in basically all categories except for walks. 433 average as opposed to the 352 of Crest. 501 on base as opposed to the 455. 708 versus 532 in slugging. 1209 OPS versus the 987 OPS of Crest. 260 hits for the Cougars, 237 for the Chargers. 45 doubles for the Cougars, 44 for the Chargers. 21 triples as opposed to 7 triples for the Chargers, tripling that number. 26 home runs to 21 home runs in favor of the Cougars. And walks, let's be real here. Rockingham has 71 walks, but that's only because it's hard to get walked when you're hitting a home run. It's just not as easy when you've got that 433 average and the 501 on base, 708 slugging, 1209 OPS. You're obviously able to get on base with a hit instead of a walk. So let's throw that out. And 275 runs beats 253 runs on the Crest side, and 219 RBIs beats 208. So Crest is very good with these stats, but the Cougars just outdo them in every single category except for walks, which, what can you do about that? Tell them to stop swinging and just get walked so that you can win a category. So that's the offensive side of things. I want you to do the same thing with the pitching style. Aiden Ledbetter, scary horror villain, 21-3 win-loss, allowed just 12 earned runs, .65 ERA. Opposing batters have a 191 on base, 71 hits, no doubles, no triples, 5 home runs, and 213 strikeouts. But Avery Grace Pruitt, 24-0, 6 earned runs, .37 ERA, 128 on base, 26 hits, 3 home runs, no doubles or triples, and 245 strikeouts. So she leads her in literally every category by a wide margin. 26 is a lot less than 71 when it comes to hits. 128, way lower than 191 on the on-base. 3.7 ERA is way lower than the .65 ERA. 6 earned runs is half as much as the 12 earned runs that Ledbetter gave up. 24-0 as opposed to 21-3, and then struck out 32 more batters. Joe Dexter's mentioned this before. It's not the pitcher versus the other pitcher, but it's still nice to see that if you're better at the other team than batting and you're also better than the other team at pitching, you've probably got the advantage. But again, this is softball. Never know what's going to happen. 3-game series. Anything can happen. Anything can go wrong, especially if Hayden Ladle's back into the equation. This could change a lot, but overall, even including her, the Cougars have the clear advantage in basically every category when it comes to the experience. They've got way more games. They've got 6 seniors. When it comes to average on-base slugging, OPS, hits, doubles, triples, home runs, RBIs, when it comes down to the Chapel Hill commit, Avery Grace Pruitt, win-loss, earned runs, earned run average, on-base percentage, hits given up, doubles given up, triples given up, home runs given up, and who struck out more, that leans in the Cougars' favor. They've got the home field, which may not be an advantage, but it's certainly not a disadvantage unless you're like one of my weird friend who said that he likes the away games more. So the Cougars have the advantage in most of these categories, but 2 out of 3 series. Never know what's going to happen. It's softball. You see a lot of variables, and not everybody that's the higher seed or even the better team is going to win every time. And we've seen all playoffs long that sometimes the best team with all of the best stats does not end up winning. So lastly, well, I'll do a little bit more comments interaction. Hatley making some observations about Rockingham County. Yeah, and Joe saying Inca would have said the same thing last Friday. That's the beauty of softball. I don't know what he was referring to, but I assume he was. I don't know. I don't know. But it was good. It was good. Comments interaction. Go ahead and keep loading up those comments, guys. Thank you so much. Whether you're listening on RoCoRadio.com, Substack, YouTube, or Facebook. Hatley says that Rockingham also has a 5.5% better fielding percentage. Defense matters. Oh, okay. Joe's saying that Inca had way better stats than Crest. Yeah, that's kind of my point. Yeah, you can't just look at the stats because there's no common opponents between the Cougars and Crest. You don't know who Crest was facing. Well, you do know who Crest was facing, but you don't know how the Cougars would have fared against those same teams. And also, there's a matchup. I mean, it's different for. We can't just look at if Crest had played Dudley and Rockingham had played Dudley, which, I mean, terrible example because 4A school. But we couldn't just. Are they 4A? I'm struggling. Rockingham, you can't just look at whether Rockingham played Dudley and Crest played Dudley and then compare how Rockingham would play Crest based on that because different pitcher, different matchup, different lineup, different everything, and you never know what's going to happen. Hadley mentioning in the comments 5.5% better fielding percentage for Rockingham. Defense does matter. Melita Hadley reiterating that point. Yeah, it's definitely true. Cougars don't seem to make a lot of errors. I don't know if they made a single one in that game against Oak Grove the other day, 2 seed versus 3 seed. And Joe's mentioning that Crest went in and beat a team that hadn't lost since the season opener in late February. My dad in the comments, your mother keeps vetoing my comments. Thank you, Mom. Thank you very much. You know, the only comment I'll have to veto, if somebody would have made a Crest toothpaste joke, I think I would have banned them from RoCo Radio. And I know that Joe probably would overrule that. He'd veto my veto, kind of like the court levels. But if somebody would have put something about Crest toothpaste, I may have left. I might have left. So thank you guys very much for that. Joe says, so you're banning yourself. No, I didn't make the comment. I mentioned it. Hadley says he doesn't have his book up. Hadley, what book are you talking about, dude? I guess he's talking about, errors. I need to start remembering the things I'm saying. My mom in the comments, you're welcome, I'm trying. Yes, thank you very much. You've made this go smoother than it could have been. So, moving on from the comments, you guys can keep dropping those there. I'll go back around those at the end of the broadcast. 5 South Johnston Trojans taking on 2-seeded Scotland Fighting Scots. So the winner of this series, Crest versus Rockingham, 2-seed versus 5-seed, plays the winner of 2-seed Scotland versus 5-seed South Johnston. They'll either be at Duke or UNCG. We're kind of assuming that Scotland, which is on the border of South Carolina, would be going straight up to UNCG, and if South Johnston on the far east side wins, then they'd be going to Duke. But we're not exactly sure how that's going to play out, kind of just speculation. That'll be in Laurinburg, North Carolina. South Johnston is traveling 80 miles southwest for Game 1. Game 2 will be at South Johnston, and the potential Game 3, if they split that, will go to Scotland County. No common opponents between the two, kind of like this series. Neither team has won a state title. I mentioned it earlier. None of these teams have won state titles, so they're all vying for the same thing. South Johnston, along with Union Academy, which is a 1A school, and Weddington, which is 4A, South Johnston is the only team with 4 shutouts this postseason, haven't given up a single run. But none of these games were blowouts. Don't let that fool you. It took them 8 innings to defeat West Carteret, which is a 12 seed, and 8 innings as well to beat the 4-seeded Richlands Wildcats. They're 23-1. They're on a 23-game winning streak since losing to a 4A school 6 runs to 8. And ultimately, South Johnston's just been rolling since the very beginning of the season. As the 2 seed in 2022, they lost in the third round. As the 4 seed in 2023, kind of like the Cougars, they lost in this very round to Western Alamance. And as the 4 seed in 2024, they lost in the second round. So they've got a history. They've been to the semifinals before, and that experience may come into play here. Scotland, on the other hand, they outscored their opponents by 21 runs in the first 4 rounds. They defeated 31-seeded West Brunswick, 18-seeded Western Alamance, 7-seeded Cape Fear, and 6-seeded South Central. They've got a long history of athletics, have a lot of alumni in the pros, and they're 27-1. They're on a 26-game winning streak since losing to South Brunswick 1-0, who lost to the team that Scotland beat in round 4. They're down on the border of South Carolina, as I mentioned, and as the 4th seed in 2022, they lost in the second round. As the 2 seed in 2023, they lost 10-0 to Western Alamance. I don't know what I put there. They lost 10-0 to Western Alamance, 12-0. You guys can't decipher that because I don't know what I meant, but maybe y'all do. And as the 1 seed in 2024, they lost 1-0 in the second round. So you're the 4 seed in 2022. You lose in the second round. That's disappointing. That's either that's the 13 seed or the 20 seed. Then it's the 2 seed in 2023. No 2 seed wants to lose by 10 runs ever in any round. And then as the 1 seed in 2024, they lose in the second round to the 16 seed, which is just completely it's not unheard of, but I think it was only 3 teams in any sports have had a 32 seed take down a 1 seed. I'd like to get the stat on 16 seeds beating a 1 seed, but usually, we say seeding doesn't matter all that much, but if the 1 seed's head and shoulders clearly above the rest of the state, at least the teams that are going to be seeded 16 and below. So seeing a 16 seed beat Scotland, them making it to the semifinals this year is a success story for them after time having these disappointments in the postseason. So if you're Scotland, you're very hungry for it. South Johnston as well. They lost in the semifinals 2 years ago. They've got a reason to fight for it. And ultimately, 2 seed Scotland or 5 seed South Johnston will be who the Cougars are facing if they win this series, and who the Chargers will be facing if they win it. We're about towards the end of this. Thank you guys so much for listening in. And if you have anything else to drop in the comments, any thoughts about the game, any questions for me on my predictions on what's going to happen, you can go ahead and drop those in. I'm not going to give an actual series prediction, but if you have any thoughts, just go ahead and drop them in. Hadley saying about Scotland, sounds like they may have been a little overrated those years. I mean, it's not always the case. There's only so many things you can rate a team on. So it's not exactly you can just say, oh yeah, they were overrated because they lost in the second round. Maybe something goes wrong, but maybe the Fighting Scots were overrated. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Scotland, South Johnston should be interesting to look out for. I'm not sure what days they're playing on. I'm assuming it's Tuesday, Thursday, and then they'll schedule that third game. I know it'll be in Laurinburg for game 1, and I think that'll be tomorrow. And they'll be facing the winner of Rockingham versus Crest. Rockingham tomorrow evening will be heading down to the border of South Carolina in Cleveland County. They'll be taking on Shelby's very own Crest High School. A lot of animosity towards Shelby from the football fans from Reedsville. So we will we'll see what goes down there, and Thursday we'll be going down to Cleveland County and covering that one, and then we'll cover whatever the third game is, if it's necessary, if the Cougars sweep it, if Crest wins both of those first 2 games, then they'll be heading to the next round, which will either be at Duke or UNCG, and we are looking forward to it. Tuesday, May 20th, tomorrow night. Mark your calendars, Substack, Facebook, YouTube, RoCoRadio.com. We will see what happens. Cougars trying to take down the Crest Chargers. If you don't have anything else in the comments, I'm going to turn this thing off. Again, thank you guys so much for listening, whether you were on YouTube, Facebook, Substack, or RoCoRadio.com. Jonathan Hadley, just going straight in. He says Cougar sweep with a lot of exclamation points. I can't count that high. But I'm assuming a lot of people will be thinking that, and ultimately it's just too hard to predict. Too hard to predict. David Stepp says Coach Langle with a lot of exclamation points. And my dad says David Steps is willing to be your guest on the next one. Well, I'm willing to be a guest on Colin Cowherd's show, but there's just some things you can't do. Sorry about that. A little bit worried about getting some sort of violation if he came on. So thank you guys so much for listening in. We'll see what happens with Rockingham versus Crest, and we will see you, or I guess see you in the comments. Is it metaphorically? I don't know. I can't say that. Thank you guys for listening in.